Good evening, everyone. It is your girl, Marcy Thomas, and I am so happy to be back with you for another episode of Live Well, Sister. So please come on in the room. Everyone, come on in the room. Grab your friends, your family, people that you might work with that need to understand some things about Black women in leadership, your sorors, anyone that is really going to be blessed by this conversation. So I am coming to you from the outskirts of Atlanta, originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I've lived in Chicago, Detroit, and a whole bunch of other places in between. So I just always like to, if you have a moment, to drop in the comments where you're joining us from. Please do so, just so we can get an idea of who is here for what is going to be a really wonderful collective conversation. So I am really pleased to have some young ladies with me that I have been following for quite a while. I originally found out about them with their first book, The Little Black Book of Success, Laws of Leadership for Black Women, which came out in 2010. And I actually had to go find my original copy because I'm like, I know I have it in the archive. So I was happy that I was able to pull that up. But tonight we're going to be talking about their latest edition, and there's a workbook in between, but we're going to be talking about the latest edition, which came out a couple of months ago, which is called The Next Little Black Book of Success. And tonight we have with us Elaine Meryl Brown and Rhonda Joy McLean, and we're going to talk about Marsha Haygood here in just a moment. But just to let you know who they are, a writer and producer, Elaine Meryl Brown has made a significant impact in the media and entertainment industry. Her award-winning portfolio showcases a wide array of writing accomplishments, including a prestigious Daytime Emmy Award, 2 novels published by Penguin Random House, articles for Essence Magazine, and over 40 industry awards. Rhonda Joy McLean is president and CEO of RJM Leads LLC, a leadership consulting and career advancement company based in New York City. She is the former deputy general counsel of Time Incorporated, a global media company, where she managed 1/3 of the law department and provided legal counsel to over 200 clients for nearly 20 years, including Time, Fortune, Sports Illustrated, People Essence, and other global brands. So these sisters coming to us to talk about leadership. They know a thing or 2 or 12 about leadership, and they've got the receipts to share with us and to have been able to write these beautiful books. So without any further delay, let's welcome our special guest to Well Sister. Welcome, Rhonda Joy and Elaine. Hey. How are you ladies? How are you doing?
We're great. Thanks for having us on your show. We're so excited to be part of Brown Girl Collective tonight.
Yes.
This is wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Because Rhonda Joy, you and I have been Facebook friends for the longest.
Yes, we have, my sister. This is great.
It's like this is the first time, well, not the first time that we've chatted, but the first time I'm having an opportunity to bring you here. So I'm so excited about that and really excited about this new edition of the book.
Thank you.
Before we go too much further, I want us to pay honor where honor is due, and let's mention and talk about your third writer, the third writer of both books, who is someone very special that I want you to have a chance to talk about. So I'm going to start with the most recent picture.
Yeah, that's our author photo for The Next Little Black Book.
Yes.
Yes. And
Yeah.
we want to say that, unfortunately, we lost our beloved friend and co-author, Martha Hook Haygood, in January of this year. Actually, just a few days before the next book was published. She had been ill for over a year, and we were blessed to be her friend and co-author for 25 years. Well, friend for 25 years, co-author for about 17. So she was with us until the very end, quite vigorous, and in some of our videos on TikTok, you can see her even up until December. So she was fierce, valiant, a generous friend, and fought until the end. So her family has given us their blessing to continue with our work on the book, and to we dedicate this session, thank you, to her memory. And I'll turn it over to Elaine.
Yeah, everything Rhonda said, and Marsha's still with us in spirit. She was not only a business partner or co-author, but sister friend. And as Rhonda said, we've been together for 15, 20 years. So she's definitely, one of us is missing.
Yes.
The image that one of us is missing, but Marsha is with us in spirit and continues to encourage us to move on and spread, our messages about leadership to everyone, which is needed now more than ever. So
Now more than ever. And I really wanted us to start out that way because, if people pick up the book, they're like, wait a minute, two people are here,
Yes,
what's going on? So I wanted to make
right.
sure to do that. And, again, to pay homage to Marsha because she has been such a great part of this work that you all have done. And, we're going to give her flowers in this space as well. So thank you for, being wanting to do that and giving me the opportunity to share that with the audience. So let's talk about the books. So, of course, we know we have this one that came out in 2010. And, it was such a powerful book that changed the lives of so many people to think about success and leadership, from a Black woman's perspective. And, you all, had worked together on doing this. But I actually want to back up a little bit more because this came out 15 years ago, but obviously you all knew each other before then.
yeah.
So how did you all meet? And what was it that made you decide that, hey, I think we need to create a resource for women who are Black women who are navigating success?
Well, I'll start with that, Marcy, because actually, and Rhonda will point the finger at me. She says,
Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
anyway, but while I was at HB, I was actually invited to attend my first leadership class, and by that time, I was already a vice president, and had learned that I really hadn't been networking properly. And maybe during our conversation we can talk a little bit more about that. But I realized that networking is not just an exchange of business cards; it's about building relationships. So I actually reached out and had met Marsha at a luncheon maybe a few weeks or a few months prior, and I'm an introvert, but I got up the courage because Marsha was an executive vice president at New Line Cinema,
Okay.
to invite her to dinner. And Marsha was gracious enough to say yes. And then I invited other ladies. Marsha invited Rhonda.
Okay.
And we had dinner that one night. And we had so much fun. We continued to have dinner quarterly for the next 10 years.
Oh, wow. I love that.
And one day said, hey, ladies, we have so much information, have experienced so much. We have to give back to the next generation. Let's write something. And that's when Marsha and Rhonda, out of the group of 6, came forward, and we just sat down and we just hit the ground running with that.
Wow. I love that.
So this is all Elaine's fault. That's what I have to say about it.
Blame it on Elaine.
So much knowledge and information that we had. It's like we have to share it with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And we had stepped on the landmines ourselves. Many of us had been laid off, we'd been fired, or in managerial roles, we had to give difficult performance appraisals. So we, were helping each other. These ladies, we met quarterly, as Elaine says, but mostly we were having cocktails. We were having dinner. We weren't thinking about writing a book, but we would help each other with real life problems. Like, this older white man is my boss. I'm the only Black woman in the whole company or whatever it is in the whole department, and yet other people are getting opportunities I'm not getting. What do I need to do? So we would rehearse with each other language that we should be using. We talked about money. I came from the South, the Black Bible Belt, where basically you never talked about money. You were just
Right.
glad to get a job. You never even asked. I never even asked what the salary was with
Wow.
most of my early jobs. Well, that's not how you do it. But I didn't know, so I learned from Elaine and Marsha and Jerry and all of our other friends. So it was just a real blessing to meet these ladies, and we're still friends with them now.
I love that. And that's so important because actually, excuse me, Elaine, you said something about not knowing how to network, not knowing how to do different things. And the reality of it is that there is a certain generation that you are the first
Mm,
to step into these types of spaces.
yeah.
So we couldn't necessarily go to our mamas or our big mamas or whoever to give us like insight or input into how to navigate certain things, in the corporate workspace. Because for many of us, we may have been the first or the only.
Mhm.
So it definitely takes, being able to learn. And so it's really a blessing that you all were able to formulate that collective. This is Brown Girl Collective, but you were able to have a collective of women to come together and like serve as mentors and peers and all those sorts of things.
Absolutely. And we created a safe space, among us. And that was really important too, a sense of trust, because, we all came from the Time Warner family, but we were all kind of siloed in our own individual businesses. And within our own individual businesses, sometimes we were the onlys. Rhonda was the first only in her department. I was only, the only vice president. I didn't really have anyone even within my company to talk to, so we created our own group of peer mentors to ask for guidance and seek help during, when we had challenges or during difficult times. So,
And we called our group G&O, Girls Night Out.
yeah.
I love
And that's how it got started. But I can tell you that it was just such a blessing to know, as Elaine said, that you could say anything. If you were having difficulty with your child at home, it wasn't just professional
right.
networking. It was also just, my mom is sick. I live 800 miles away, as I did. I was in New York. My mom was in North Carolina. And three other sisters had the same issue. So we were able to help each other. How are you doing that? Are you hiring people? How, what kind of coverages do you have? So just to have real life help from
Mhm.
people you could trust, such a blessing.
Yeah. And I think now, Marcy, especially now, as we're being, leaving the job force in droves,
Right.
300,000 in 2000, just last year. And I'm sure that number's increased by now. We have to rely on each other for help and support and not be afraid to ask for help,
Right.
which is something we also talk about in our books. When you mentioned, our first book, 2010, I mean, there were no books about leadership for Black women.
Mm-mm.
Marsha would always say, we wrote the book to be inclusive,
Right.
not exclusive, even though the subtitle is for Black women.
Right.
So,
And we, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, well, we had trouble with our publishing company. They wanted us to take the black out of the
Mm.
title.
Of course.
And yeah, of course they did, because they were like, wait a minute, Black people don't read, and who's going to read this book? How are we going to market it? But one of the things Elaine had done that gave us a solid foundation, she had looked at thousands of books. She had researched books on leadership, and there were none out there out of thousands of books that mentioned Black women in leadership in the same like space. And
Mm-hmm.
so what we say to people is we wrote the book we wish we had had
Yeah.
when we were in our careers, because
Right.
we didn't have this practical help. So we tried to write a book we thought people would actually read, because you've talked about everything you've had to do today and your day isn't over yet. Black women are busy.
Easy.
And we don't have a lot of time. So we
Mhm.
tried to write a short, saucy, spicy, fun book that you can start from the middle. You could read it at the end. You could read it on the subway. You could listen to it on your car. You could read it on your device. So we tried to make it practical.
Mm-hmm. And that you definitely did that, because in both books there are like 40 lessons, and they're short and sweet, and if it's something you're dealing with, you can turn to a lesson or some advice to kind of help you in that particular situation.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we tried hard. Also, I know I tried. We still read our own books,
Yeah.
so We have friends who, one of the reasons our books are still selling, and all three of them, thank God, are still selling online and in bookstores. And one of the reasons we haven't done that much marketing, they kind of make friends on their own. Like once you've read book one, you kind of want to give it to someone. So I'm a lawyer of 40 years, and my friends who are partners in firms or have their own firms, they give the book every year to the young people coming into their firm or their company. So that's what has helped us to continue to have sales. So we're very grateful for that support.
Yeah.
That is indeed a blessing. And I love, the fact that you did it because you wanted to help the next generation. Because oftentimes I think some folks may feel like people have information, they want to hold it close to the vest.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the fact that you're like, no, we're not trying to hold it close to the vest. We're trying to help others along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, with these days with the transition from college to the workforce, I reflect back. I mean, you mentioned Marcy. I mean, we did, and Rhonda, we wrote the book we wish we had when we were coming along. I mean, this is the guidebook. So, as we go out and we talk to, middle level managers and, senior executives and young people making that transition, once you have a solid, first of all, leaders aren't just born, leaders can be made. So these
Right.
we have skills. Each chapter represents a skill, and that we consider it's a tool you can put in your toolkit and you can use, and you need to be aware of these different skills. A lot of them are soft skills, but they're more important. Oftentimes the soft skills are even more important than some of the hard skills that you can have, because it's the soft skills that'll get you farther in your career.
That's true. That's true.
Emotional intelligence, being able to negotiate a salary, asking for feedback, having a plan, and being strategic and intentional in your career, so you can move forward. Networking, that's big. I'm a huge, we talk about the women who are sort of in the in-between or have left the workforce.
Right.
I mean, we still need to network,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Us will get our next job.
Yeah. Yeah, most of my jobs have come from friends and networks and even people that I didn't know but who knew me. So you never know who's watching you, which is why you try to always put your best foot forward. The other thing I want to talk about that I was not good at, that I had to go learn how to do, is listen. I was an early manager in my 20s. I was kind of pushed up into a leadership position. And so because I was insecure, because I didn't know what I was doing or what I was supposed to be doing, I was smart. I knew I was smart and I knew I could learn things, but I talked entirely too much. I did not listen to understand. I listened to respond. So I kind of waited until you were finished speaking and then jumped right in.
Right.
And in my family, we do a lot of that. We're fast talkers, high energy people. But what I'm finding is, particularly now, there's a lot going on. It's difficult, and you need to listen both to what is being said but what also is not being said. So I think a good leader, if you don't listen well, you need to work on that.
Definitely so. Definitely so. So I want to transition. We've been talking like kind of overall. I want to transition into really the newer book, because it's the next little black success, right? So
Yeah.
15 years after writing the first one, of course, it came out about 15 years later, but obviously you would have started the process earlier than that. But what was it that made you say, hey, wait a minute, the world has changed. Let's add some new tools, because it's not a revision, it's a different book.
Right.
It's a different book. Yeah.
Yes. So what was it that led you to say, hey, it's time for us to add some more tools to the tool belt?
Well, actually, it wasn't us who came to that conclusion. It was our publisher. It was Penguin.
Okay.
The world of work has changed, as a result of the pandemic, as a result of artificial intelligence, and the world being more global. So we need to address, the new laws of leadership for Black women. So that was a treat for us, and credit to our publisher, who is also Black.
Right. Yes.
And so we were happy, so to speak, to get the band back together again and, hunker down and just map out. Yeah. All of that's changed in the past, 10 or since we wrote the first book.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was,
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah. And the thing I would add there is, to be quite frank, life has been lifing. So difficult things have happened. I lost my stepdaughter and my husband.
Mm,
And then Marsha lost her husband before we lost her.
mm,
So, and even before that was the pandemic. And, a lot of people now, millions of people died. And now it's like you're supposed to just jump right back in the workforce like that didn't happen. And you
mm,
can't do that. So we really struggled with we wrote a chapter called, Leadership After Loss. It doesn't have to be death, but it could be after you were laid off,
mm,
after you were fired, after your company was bought and restructured, and maybe you were demoted. We've seen that happen a
mm.
lots of people. And some people just can't jump out and start a business. Maybe you got 3 kids, you gotta keep your paycheck
Yeah.
until you could get the side hustle going into a real gig. So we tried to write about things we had not written about before because they hadn't happened to us.
Yeah.
Right.
So leadership after loss. Also, a big one for me, and I'm sure for all of you as well, and our listeners tonight, is Black women in particular. I was told never let them see you sweat. Don't
Right.
cry in public. Keep your stoicism. And what I found is, and then we get called the the angry what,
Right.
or the angry Black woman, but it's because we're carrying so much.
You're carrying on.
So I thought, I I'm not sure that that's right anymore, that we should be saying to people, maybe they need to see you sweat a little bit. And maybe you need to give yourself some grace so that maybe you just don't know. We can't know everything. The world is on fire. It is impossible to know everything and make every correct, absolute, fabulous decision every time. So we try to write about leading from a place of vulnerability or
Yes.
uncertainty. And that sometimes when you show that uncertainty, it is dangerous because depending on your workplace, the ambiance there, sometimes people are out to get you. You're not paranoid, they are. You're not crazy, they are after you. But
Yep.
sometimes
Into that.
we've been they come after you, particularly if you're really good at what you do, which we
Mhm.
are. But the other piece I just want to say is sometimes it makes you more human to the people you're managing if
Right.
they do see that you have life issues you're dealing with as well.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great point. So we do have chapters like, onboarding yourself after you've had, been out of work for some
Hmm.
time is also, happening to many of us, and a new chapter on managing career transitions,
Right.
because we're no longer with one company for 40 years and collecting
Right.
a gold watch.
Right. Yeah, that's not the thing anymore.
Yeah, that definitely not the thing. And working in diverse teams where you have, Gen Xers working with millennials, working with some boomers, maybe even working with some Gen Zs. And so the workforce is becoming more diverse. And so we wanted to address a lot of those topics as well, especially Marsha and Rhonda, who are career coaches.
Yeah.
So they're closer to the ground in terms of what the issues are that are bubbling up these days with us. And I have friends who,
Right.
and,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
try to advise them and guide them or give them other things to think about based on the knowledge that I have. So
Yeah,
these, and also just one other thing, there was another chapter. Oh yeah, authenticity, because that was a question
Yes.
that kept coming up, when we would have our speaking engagements,
that's right.
be authentic. And
That's right.
so we decided to write a chapter about that authenticity, to be or not to be yourself. So that would rely upon the culture that you're in, your environment that you're in, and how
Yeah.
accepting they are of you, and how willing you are to do the what's more important, you doing the job, or you coming to work with green hair, so to speak. I'm just using
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I have them back so they look a little more professional right now. But yeah, me and my braids, black
Exactly.
braids.
Well, that is so important to be able to be yourself, and then you do have to decide, like, what do you want, and what are you willing to do
Right.
in order to work in the workplace, and do you need to be there if you cannot be yourself. One other thing I wanted to mention that Elaine referred to is managing a global workforce. She talked about diversity in terms of intergenerational diversity, but before I left time, I was managing people in India, the Philippines, um, um, the islands. And then we had people in different parts of our country in the United States, West Coast, East Coast, Southeastern, so that the time zones were different. But
Yeah.
then in the other countries, the work culture is different. Just how they approach work was different. And there were often misinterpretations of things we thought we were saying in English that were very clear about what our expectations were. But there it ended up with sometimes hurt feelings and misunderstanding. So really having to work hard to respect and understand other work cultures. And then, sometimes we had to have video conferences, or what we called, that was precursor to Zoom
Mm.
conversations now, like what we're doing now, at 9 o'clock at night, because it might be 2 o'clock in the afternoon in somebody else's country. And there was just not a lot of preparation for this. We were just thrust into this. And all of a sudden, you're managing people you can't see, and that you may meet once a year, or you may never see them, or you may never. So, how do you do that? So, we talk a little bit about, we have some practical tips for what to do if you're leading a global workforce.
Yeah, that's something. And it's interesting 'cause I'm smiling because, I've read all these things, but also in my current position, I am like managing like across the US. And of course, I'm on the East Coast, but my region is the West Coast. So like there's certain things that I have to do that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to work at 9 o'clock at night sometimes, because if I want to capture people when they're off work, because it's a nonprofit. And we work with volunteers and stuff. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to work late sometimes so I can accommodate the people that live on a different coast. So there are things like that. But I mean, even that in and of itself, that is such a change. Being in situations where, and I do work from home. So maybe you're working from home, which is very different.
Yes.
Or you are dealing with people that live in a bunch of other places that you have to navigate your schedule, and if you got kids and all that kind of stuff, just what life looks like when you're trying to manage all those sorts of things. So I really love that you touch on those things for us, just to give us food for thought and how to manage it or how to deal with it. But the very first thing in this book is the first person you lead is yourself.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes. And Marsha was one of the lovely things about Marsha was her own generosity, because Marsha had more experience in the corporate workplace than either Elaine or me, and rose to be an EVP. From being, she started out as an executive assistant in
Hmm.
a movie house, and by the time she left, almost 30 years later, she was the EVP the head of human resources for a
Right.
global movie company. And she was still herself, down, fun, accessible, approachable. She mentored everybody. She certainly mentored me and Elaine.
Yeah.
But she really talked so much about leading yourself. And Elaine used her key word, which is strategic. She was very strategic. She was also a long range planner. She became an executive coach years before I did. And she had a 12-year plan. So 12 years
12 years.
before
We're
she
talking about
launched
year
her
five,
business.
right?
Honey, I'm good if I have a 2 month plan. I'm looking good if I have a quarterly plan. But she was just very thoughtful, methodical, and I'm telling you, she implemented every step of her plan. We watched her do it, and we
Yes.
learned from her.
Yes. And in addition to that, Marsha was always also the queen of networking.
Mm.
She, would network and stay in touch. Talk about building relationships. Just stay in touch with people. Just touch base. Hey, how are you doing? Thinking about you. Saw this article. Happy New Year. Holidays are like a perfect time to reach out to folks. So,
Mhm.
like Rhonda said, I learned a lot from her. So before, I was not before pre Marsha, I was not a post Marsha, I've learned to be better at it, and to be
Mm.
not only better at it. Well, I guess being better at it also means being more comfortable, like
Right.
icebreakers, because we're often in rooms where we are still the only ones.
Right.
Yes,
Or, if there are more of us, we may tend to gravitate towards us when we should not gravitate just towards us, because we all,
Right.
mhm,
creating success teams that should
yes,
consist of people who don't just look like us. They should
yes,
not just be, black, white, Latina, Latino, gender differences, and religious backgrounds, and just a whole consortium of people who we trust, who we can consult with, who have our best interest in mind. Because prior to Marsha, this leadership class, I mean, I just had Black women in my group.
Right.
So I've
Right.
expanded my resources to include men and white women, and so it's a much richer opportunity for me to seek guidance from people who have different, perspectives. And I know it
Mhm.
might be easier said than done. I haven't Googled like the percentage of introverts versus the percentage. There are a lot of folks like me who, just come up with, an icebreaker. Hey, what brings you to this event? Or is this your first time attending this event? Who do you hope to meet here? I mean, Marsha would always
Yes,
say, think about who you know, who you need to know, and who needs to know you.
I
absolutely.
love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
isn't that great? Isn't that great? And one
Who
other
you
thing
know,
for
who you need to know, and who needs to know you. I love that.
yes. Yeah, it was her mantra. She said it every time we went to 18 states to have in-person events after book one. And the other thing she said that I think is important about networking that Elaine brought up, whether you're shy or more of an extrovert, I'm more sort of comfortable out with people, but I'm very quiet at home, so I'm like a hybrid.
Okay.
But one of the things would say is as you're building out your network, your first outreach should not be an ask.
Just
So if I were coming to
I
meet
hate
Miss Marcy Thomas, my
that.
first outreach to you should not be, can you help me get a job? Or people
Right.
write me all the time on LinkedIn. I see that you're linked into Marcy Thomas. Could you introduce me to her? No, I
Yeah.
don't know you. You
No.
don't know me. You have read my stuff and decided that this is how I can be useful to you. And then you're going to start. You don't even know me. We've never had a lunch or a bagel or a coffee or nothing. No, no. So she would say, build the relationship first
Mhm.
and then gradually. And some people in your network you may never have an ask for. You just
Right.
want to know them. You want to know about their career path. Maybe they can help you think about your own career trajectory. So it's
Mm,
not like, how can you help me? It's
Right.
more of, how can we get to know each other and build something rich together?
And I love that you gave that example because, as I mentioned earlier on, you and I have been connected on Facebook for years, but we don't
Yes.
really know each other like that,
Yes.
right?
That's
And
right.
when I saw the book came out and I know that I'm doing this, I was like, hey, I have this space where you can come talk about your book. You want to come
Hey,
talk about
hey,
it?
hey.
So
Thank you. Thank you.
I came with you to add value to you. I mean, yes,
Thank
it was
you.
asked for me because, of course, having you here is such an honor and people will watch and all of that. But really, I came to offer you something. I just didn't come like, I need you to do something for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think it's important too, this generationally, because I do find I just mentored a young man yesterday who's a senior in college, and he was sent to me by a sister who's my age. I'm in my 70s. And so she and I have been friends for 25 years. So basically, I'll talk to anybody that she sends my way. And he was just a lovely young brother from another country who's come to go to school in this country, and he's doing well. But what I liked about him is, I don't know if they say this where you're from, but where I'm from, I say your mama raised you right,
Yes.
because he was polite. He didn't ask for things right away. He really just had questions around, here's how I'm looking for jobs. Here are the kinds of things I'm doing. What would you suggest that I think about? And how would you suggest that I prepare myself? So we
Right.
talked about what we're talking about tonight, building out your network,
Mm,
reaching out to people who don't look like you or who are from a country that's other than the one you grew up in. Because
mm,
unlike a lot of students, he spent his whole 12 years in the other country and then came here to go to university. But his summer jobs were not in the United States. He went back home to work. And I said, well, we're going to have to get a good story for why you didn't at least work in Chicago one of those summers,
right.
or in DC. And we did. We came up with some stuff. But all of that to say, his first question was not, help me get a job, help me write to Marcy Thomas, call Marcy Thomas on my behalf, or call
Right.
Elaine. He had some good, what we call some good, upbringing.
Right. And those things are just so important because a lot of the networking that people are doing nowadays, and you do talk about it in here as well, it is like via, IG or LinkedIn or whatever the case may be. All of it may not always be face to face. because for example, I've been doing this book stuff for like almost 6 years. Next month it'll make 6 years. And there are people that I only know them through email, right?
Mm.
Yes.
So it's like, how do you talk to them how do you talk to people? How do you build relationships? Because there was a young lady, I went to an event, a book event here in Atlanta, and I was talking to someone else, and I'm like, yes, I'm Marcy with Brown Girl. She's like, you are Marcy? We're emailing all the time. I'm so-and-so.
Yes.
So, all of those things really do make a difference. And that, I'm going to hit some of the things that you talk about in the book.
Marcy, I just want to add one more thing on that, because what I usually like is when people show an interest in you. Like, like, Marcy, wow, I'm impressed, or would love to learn more about you and how you got started, and, what kind of challenges did you have and how did you overcome them? So I think that's also a way to develop the relationship. So it's not only about me and, like Rhonda said, like what I want, but I think it's important for people to show an interest in the person you want to get to know.
Right.
Yes. First step.
Don't have it just about what you need, or having ulterior motives all the time.
Yeah.
But of course, and we talked about this a little bit before we came on, and it has come up in this conversation. We know that there have been a lot of Black women, since the pandemic forward, that have been losing jobs, and either or opting out on their own, one or the other. So, one of the things in the book you talk about is really even defining what success looks like. Because for some people, it might have been, oh, well, I'm going to go get a job at XYZ company and, work my way, like Marsha did, started from the bottom. Now we're here, like that song goes. But that's not necessarily how it is now. Or maybe someone is on that trajectory and they reach a certain point where maybe they can't be authentic in the workplace and they decide to do something different. So I like the fact that in this book you talk about that. But what, if anything, as you've been like talking about this book and going out and doing your work, what are some of the things that are coming up in conversations that you have with women about some of these transitions that they're having to make?
Well, I can say that you are a good example of what we're seeing. It is always, and my mother did this as well. Most Black women I know are polyphonic. We do more than one thing, and we do more than one thing well. The only problem I have with it is that we pay a high price. Sometimes it's our health. We don't get enough rest. We don't get enough sleep. So that does worry me as I'm meeting people, particularly people with families, whether they are raising children of their own, whether they have a mate or not. Often they're taking care of parents or, great aunts or adult children. But what we're finding is it is not unusual for Black women, all women, but particularly women of color, to have a full-time job plus one or two other major things. So they are a side gig, a side hustle, family care, caregiving, church work. I mean, like heavy duty work in the community on behalf of others, helping other people go to school. Most of us are in some organization or sorority or something. So it's rare for me to find Black women who are doing only one thing. Right. And I think now that we're losing our jobs, one of the things, and it's more noticeable that we're losing our jobs. We felt that we should put in the book, and Ms. Marsha helped us with this. If you are going to turn your side hustle into a real job, here are the 12 things you need to do before you do that. Because many of us just, you can hang your shingle out and you could just say, I'm in business, but there's more to it than that. And a lot of our businesses fail in the first couple of years because we don't have a business plan or we haven't spoken to someone. But I would say that I don't think this multitasking is going to ever go away for women. I think it's who we are. I think it's who we were raised to be. And Elaine can talk more about self-care. My word now is we're just seeing that women are working too hard. And we're not taking good care of ourselves. So in order to be successful, it's not just you doing everything, but you doing some things for yourself as well.
And thank you for saying that, Rhonda. And I also think, we're in a strange environment right now where, women are turning to or willing to accept what I, referred to as sort of the in-between time job.
Mm-hmm.
May not be part of their career, like the next level or step in their career, but it's something they do just in between time. I know I've had a couple of jobs like that myself, whether I've had to move into retail or packaged goods or whatever.
Yep.
Just
Mm-hmm.
the pay, because we have responsibilities.
Yeah,
So
you gotta pay the bills.
Got to pay those bills.
I just came across some statistics the other day. 45% of us cite pay and benefits as motivation to work. 18% feel their work has personal purpose. That's not a big number.
It is not.
5% view employment simply as something to get them by. So we might be in the something to get you by.
Yep, been there.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that it's just it's God willing, it's temporary, and things will get better, things will improve. And as I mentioned earlier, this is not the time to stop networking. You may be depressed for a minute, after you can be depressed for a minute and then get up and encourage and motivate yourself to network, because and network like for the job that you will be getting, or for the job that you want to get. Develop the relationships, or build the relationships with the people you want to have, as part of your success team in the, as you move forward in your career. And it doesn't, we're not talking about trying to get to the C-suite. I mean, people,
Right.
Getting to where everyone's got we each have our own plan.
Right.
And,
Yes.
the higher up you go, of course, a little more money, but of course also the more stress.
Right.
Yes.
And that's something, Rhonda mentioned, we don't need more of, and that's all the more reason self-care is even important now. So we can't ignore ourselves. I know just last week, I actually had been thinking for the past 6 months to get a massage, and I finally booked a 90-minute
Finally got it. Yay.
which I know exactly, which I so, needed. And, it's beautiful weather up here in the Northeast in New Jersey. So these past couple of days, I've gotten up and I've walked a couple of laps around my community, and it just makes me feel better, so much better.
Yes.
Right.
And I just want to mention a couple of the harder things that usually when we're out talking to people in person, I mentioned. But I do want to say, particularly right now, it's so tough out there. And we all, again, want to put our best faces forward. But I have been hospitalized for depression. I have been in therapy. Both Elaine and I are very spiritual, and we approach that differently. Some people are in traditional churches, some people are not. But we do try to talk about this as well. You
Yeah.
must care for your spirit. You must
Mhm.
care for your soul. There's no shame in getting help, whether it's from a doctor, from a friend, from a minister, from a counselor, from a coach. A lot of us are raised to do everything ourselves. I'm a Leo. I'm a firstborn of a firstborn of a firstborn. We are short, fast talking, fast walking women. And so it took a minute for me to give myself permission to get help. But once I did, oh my goodness, what a blessing. What a blessing. So please don't shortchange yourself. And if you don't have the money, there are resources, there are organizations. You can go online, you can get some things for free. Please, please, I know because some people say, well, I'm not even at the point that they're talking about. I'm below this point. I'm just trying to get by. Well, we're all just trying to get by, in one way or another. And there's no shame in that. There's no shame in that.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about, and like that self-care is so important, which is why I told you all, full disclosure, I was like doing some stuff when they were in I call it in the beige room. When they were in the beige room, y'all, because I had to go lay down and take a nap because I felt really tired. And I'm like, let me close my eyes for about 30 minutes today.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yes.
just giving something like that, giving yourself permission to take a nap. Or earlier today, I did go out and take a walk.
And I did that
around.
too.
Yeah, sometimes you need to do those things. You need to get up and get away from the desk, get away from get away from the office. Make sure you're eating. All these things that a lot of times that you have said that our health gets neglected because we are so driven to to succeed, and sometimes in environments where we've heard it for years, and I hope we're starting to get away from it. But the whole thing, I got to work twice as hard. All these sorts of things.
Yes.
So like having ways to kind of decompress from that. having
Yes.
a spiritual practice, having, a therapist. I got my therapist I talk to like every
There,
3 weeks.
there
You
it
know,
is. There it
and
is.
I'm good, but just talking to her helps me be better. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just things like that, because the reality of it is in a lot of our workplaces and spaces, I almost cuss in the work.
Hey, you can say it.
I
We're
know.
not gonna
I
tell
was like,
anybody.
hell, even in
We're
the
not gonna
world
tell
right now,
nobody.
even in
Yeah,
the world right now, we're dealing with a whole lot of
Yeah.
mess.
A whole lot of
it's
that.
right. It's
Because
right.
like,
It's a lot of crap. It's a lot of crap out there.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and we've had it in the past. The one thing that helps me, I think about my grandparents.
Mm,
My mom was the first in our family to go to college, and she helped each of her four siblings to go. And then the last one, whom I just lost a few months ago, got a PhD. So each of them did a little bit better than the other one, and then they helped, and then all of them helped us. But one of the things that Marcia would always tell me personally, but then everyone else too, and I can just confess, I was a workaholic. I really did not
mm,
work smart. I worked much too hard. I was a lawyer, first black woman attorney hired by this big company, which made no sense in 1999, much too late. I'm like, what do you mean? And I thought people were kidding, but they weren't. But because I was so worried about being a right representative of us, I would work until midnight. I would be there until 3 in the morning. I mean, it was just insane because I felt I don't want anybody to say I was not responsive. I don't want anybody to say I didn't answer a phone call within, so many hours. But of course, what I found is it didn't, it made people think I was accessible to them 24 hours a day, which,
mm,
so I had to put up some boundaries. So it's hard to put up boundaries after you didn't have any in the beginning. And people knew that I would call them back at midnight on a Friday night and say, oh, here's the answer to your question. I found the people I was calling back weren't even there. They had gone home. Or
Yeah,
they
they
had
ain't
gone out.
talking about
And here was my behind still sitting at my desk. And so Marsha said, no, 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 no. You need to work smarter, not
you.
harder.
yeah.
And that really helped me a lot.
And remembering the boundaries are really for you. So are
Yes,
you gonna
Right.
cross your own boundary?
yes, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
And with regards to self-care, Marsha would always say, put yourself on your to-do list. Put yourself
Absolutely.
on top of your to-do list, not
Absolutely.
everybody else. Put yourself
Absolutely.
first. Yeah.
Well, I am good at that because just like I took that nap, tomorrow morning I have my my doctor's appointment. I mean, there's just so many different things that we feel like, oh, I need to be here. I need to make sure that I'm in every meeting, or I need to make sure that the kids are getting what they need, or whatever it is. It's so much that's directed towards others, and the reality of it is, if there is no space for self-care, if there are any of those things, you can like not be here, and
Right.
everybody else is going to figure out how to go on.
That's
Right.
right.
You might
That's
still
right.
be here and not be in the best of shape. So
Right.
Yes.
whatever dreams, goals, aspirations that you have, then they're not going to happen if you're not making sure that you're taking care of yourself.
Right. Exactly.
Amen.
Yep.
Amen. And we've seen many caregivers go down, and the people they're caring for are still here. And
Mm,
they go down, they have strokes, they have breakdowns, they have nervous ailments, and particularly meant for many of our people, hypertension,
Mhm.
diabetes, poor diets because we're rushing, as you said, Miss Marcy, not eating well, and in some instances not eating at all or not eating until late at night,
Mhm.
which I can say is something I still do that I should not be doing. But I work all day, and I look up from Zoom. I executive coach people from all over the country, so it's remote. So it looks like how we look right now to your audience. But then I can easily go 5 or 6 hours, and I'm just drinking water as I'm doing now. So anyway, we must take care of ourselves, and like the first person you lead is yourself. Our chapter 1 in each book is also you need to be the first person you take care of, so
Mhm.
that your cup will be full before you start pouring into other people's
mm.
cups.
Yeah, and I'm gonna fuss at you about that, Miss Marsha, because I do it too. I do it too. But it's like what we have to start doing is putting ourselves on our calendars. So
Yeah.
schedule your lunch, schedule your 15-minute break, just like you do for those meetings and stuff.
Right.
And I'm talking to myself too.
Right.
Everybody's listening. Start
Yes,
scheduling
ma'am.
time, to make sure that, I'm scheduling my 15-minute walk. I'm gonna schedule my
Yeah.
30-minute lunch, not in front of the computer
Right.
or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Schedule
Right.
those things to put yourself on your calendar and hold yourself accountable to doing those things, because it is so important. And like we said at the very beginning, we were talking about even the three of you all deciding to write these books. A lot of it was to teach the next generation.
Right.
But a lot of times you could show them better than you could tell them.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Because people do watch more than what you say, they watch what you do. And that's really, we try to walk our talk. And Elaine is too modest to tell you, but in the last few years, she went back to school and got, graduate school, and got a Master of Fine Arts degree, even after all of her career success. So she's role modeling, transition planning, gaining new skills. We're both learning all this social media from our babyface marketer, who is definitely 2 generations behind, at least me. She's 2 generations younger. So I really am grateful for this opportunity to share with you and your audiences how important it is for us to take care of ourselves. And the one thing I do want to say about that, because I have been where some of these ladies are, where you just lost your job, you're not sure if your savings will hold, you got to pay the mortgage. So you're anxious, not sleeping well, and you're like, I don't have time to worry about taking a walk. I don't have time, or money to go get my nails done. But there are some free things you can do. You can take 10 minutes and say a prayer. You can take 10 minutes and have a meditation. You can also start a group online, a support group of other sisters or other people who are in the position that you're in. And I often say that if you don't find someone who is offering what you're doing, then offer it yourself.
Absolutely.
Offer it up. And I find that by doing that, even just that little bit will give you a lift. It'll give you a little bit of a boost, and you won't feel quite so helpless. And because I'm doing that myself every day. We lost some contracts due to this crazy administration change. So I was looking at one figure, and now that figure has changed. So hey, girlfriend's got to do something else. Got to have a plan B, plan C, and plan D.
Absolutely. Always got to be prepared, because, we know that change, the only thing constant in life is change. Change. But we, believe it or not, ladies, we don't have that much more time left. So I have a couple things that I definitely want to make sure that I bring up before we say good night. But one of the things that stood out to me, because it applies to me as well as many of the people who watch. So you're over 50. It ain't over. I have to talk about that, because I think that's so important. The ability to reinvent yourself, or whatever the case may be. But talk a little bit about that and why it was so important for you to include that in this particular version of the book.
Well, because, a lot of people, 50, I don't know, people say 50 is the new 40, the new 30. But, Rhonda just said, I decided to get my master's degree when I was over 50. I decided I wanted to learn more about my craft, even though I'd already had 2 novels published by, Penguin Random House. I actually hired a writing coach to help me adapt my novel to a screenplay. And one day the professor, my writing coach, came to me and said, hey, I'm going to be teaching at this university. Would you consider getting a master's degree? And I said, well, if they take some of my professional writing as credit, I would consider it. And so the school did. And, it was an online program. And I only had to be on campus for a residency, for 2 weeks during the summer. So I'm like, okay, that's doable. And it was a great experience. I met some wonderful people. A lot of people, actually older adults who, like me, my roommate was a white doctor from Alabama. Now we became the best of friends. I have to tell you, we still connect and serve, check in with each other to sort of be each other's writing partner. So it was a great experience for me. And I still, take courses and webinars. That's something Marsha would always encourage us to do. She would email me, hey, Elaine, this is, a writing class that I think you might be interested in, or here's some authors who I think you might be interested in reading. So we shared a lot of information together. And I just wanted to just piggyback off that last conversation. I mean, this is not the time to self-isolate. Right. This is the time for us really to come together, as Rhonda mentioned, form your own group, find like-minded women or men, or just people who you have a common interest with. I'm still trying to put together, my tribe, writers of a certain age, writing a certain genre. So I'm still seeking knowledge. I'm still seeking to meet people and like people. I think part of the reason I didn't do as much networking, I didn't really know how to connect with people, didn't like, people, but I've as I mentioned earlier, I'm starting to show, I have been beginning to show interest in other people, and that sort of, breaks down barriers and breaks, just melts the ice. And you find that you'll start connecting to people as well. But yeah, you're over 50. Life is just starting at 50. That's when the kids are grown. You don't have as much, work. You can maybe start to wind down. But I do find a lot of my peers are still working, which is amazing. Us boomers, we just don't quit. We just keep.
Yeah, I thought say my uncle stopped working. He was like 77, 78.
Yeah.
He stopped working.
Yeah. So it's I'm sure Rhonda has a lot to add about that, but it's definitely not over. I think life is just beginning, because you have a little more freedom, you have a lot more knowledge, and a lot more flexibility, and you kind of know who you are and what you want and where you want to go next.
Well, I'm just going to say two things because I know we're running out of time. I was a first-time bride at 64. I had never been married before. And my husband had been married twice before, so I'm blessed to have had my stepdaughter, whom I lost to cancer. But I had her for 25 years in my life because we dated a long time before we got married. But my mom, who was 91,
at the wedding.
Yeah, yes, Elaine was at the wedding, and we danced the whole day. It was a morning wedding, and we had a champagne brunch, and then we danced all day. But my mom was 91, and she was my matron of honor. And I have to say, she looked better than I did. I'm just saying. And she danced us under the table. But the point being, we just need to, again, we talked about putting up barriers, or ways to kind of protect yourself. But we need to crush those down in terms of expectations of what life has to look like at a certain age. I'm 73 now. I feel like I'm kicking. I'm planning my next 20 years. So, let's go. Let's go.
Yes, I'm so with you on that. And I think I vaguely remember, because we've been Facebook friends for such a long time, I vaguely remember like you getting married. So I mean I am 59, never been married. So hey, that's hope for me.
And yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yes, there is. I'm a witness. I'm a witness.
Keeping hope alive. That's
yes, either haven't done it or are willing to do it again. Because sometimes once women have done it, they're like never again.
Yes,
but, for those who haven't interest.
And it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. But I think that one of the things we've learned is, don't say can't, say can. Like, what can I do? What am I interested in? What have I not done, like Ms. Elaine, that I'd like to go and try, even at whatever age I am? Go for it.
Mm-hmm. I love that so much, because like even this one I'm doing right now, this conversation, and all these years of doing this, I did not go to school for it. I, no broadcasting, anything like that. I was going to do it years ago in my 40s, and some other things were like getting in the way. I wound up not doing it. But I was like, well, wait a minute. I know how to listen. I know how to ask questions. I know how to research. Certain things that I just kind of learned how to do or had an innate ability to do. So I let me try something and step out. So I think that is one of the advantages of getting older, that some things you don't really care as much what people think.
Right.
You're like, okay, I'm gonna try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Exactly.
But
Yes.
I think that makes a difference. And, I hope that is an inspiration for someone who maybe wants to do something. Because yes, you can go back to school and get formalized education, but sometimes it might just be something that's in you. Maybe that person that has known how to bake since you were 12, and you want to start, your own little baking business. Do you need to go for that?
Yes.
Because you've been doing it since you were 12. Sewing or whatever it is. So.
I know we often found who actually started baking apple cakes to pay her mortgage.
Yeah, mortgage application. I remember.
Yeah, yes. Lifetime made a movie out of her. This
sure did.
Yes.
Yeah.
We often undervalue these things that we do all the time because we do them all the time. We don't think that they're worth that much, but they are. They
Yeah.
really are.
Yes, we take our own selves for granted. So that's why it's important to write. We haven't talked about your personal leadership
Yes,
notebook.
let's talk about that. We can go
Yeah,
over a little bit if y'all are okay. We can go over a
Yeah,
little bit.
we're good. We're good.
Okay.
yeah, we're good. Oh, okay, okay. No, okay, no. Maybe we can have a part 2 in 6 months. No,
No, we can go over. I mean,
oh,
I've
we
been on here
can.
for an hour
Okay.
and 20
Yeah, she
minutes.
was saying, go
Well,
ahead. Go
okay.
ahead.
Well, in your personal leadership notebook, we talk about in our first book and in the next little black book of success. It's important because we do take ourselves for granted, and just to write down the skills that we bring to the table, so that even when we have conversations, looking for a job, what have you been doing, what have you done, or conversations, feedback conversations with our boss quarterly or semi-annually, is to refresh our memory, so we don't have to try to think about what we've done. We have it written down, all the skills. I mean, I got a note from actually on LinkedIn from one of my former professors who said to me, Elaine, wow, it's such a unique talent you have to write fiction as well as nonfiction. Now, Miss Marcy, I never thought, hey, I didn't think that was anything particularly special. I mean, I love to write, but that's something that she brought to my attention. So it's something that I'm going to remember, and moving forward, having conversations with people that I might be interested in talking to about work or anything else. But that's just an example of just writing things down in your notebook, so you can
Yeah, I
remind
love
yourself.
that idea. And
Yeah.
we didn't really
Yes.
talk about that. So thank you for bringing it up. But that is important because we can't forget about the things that we've done. We can't forget about those skills that we might have because yes, a lot of what we've been talking about is centered in the workplace. But
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
know, for example, I'm not sure about you, Elaine, because you didn't mention it, but I know that Rhonda is a Delta, I
Yeah.
am a Sigma Gamma
Yeah.
Rho, right?
Yes.
And there are a lot of ways that you can learn how to be a leader in your sororities,
Right.
Yes.
as an example.
Absolutely right.
Well, I'm
Yes.
talking about membership rejoining the National Coalition of 100 Black Women
Oh
Burden
yeah,
Yes.
Share.
that's
Yes.
good. That's
Yes.
good.
They're
Yes.
inviting new members in again. So,
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm looking
yeah,
at
I know that.
NCNW as well because they kind of go across the board. The National Council of Negro Women because
Yeah.
Yes.
they kind of go across the board.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
Yes.
maybe for someone who doesn't have certain opportunities in their workplace for one reason or another, there are like civic organizations that
Yeah.
you can join and utilize those leadership skills, or
Yes.
there are
Yes.
other ways to do it. Volunteering, all there, in church.
Yeah.
We've already talked about church. There are a
Mm.
lot of other ways. Because I mean, the reality of it is, if you're a Black woman and you making it from day to day, you leading something.
Right.
It
Yes.
doesn't matter
Exactly.
whether or not, how
Yes.
vocalized it is, right?
Absolutely. We believe in the power of the sisterhood. And one of the reasons we're so grateful, we were friends first. We were friends for many years before we did any kind of, you know, partnership work or business work. And before Elaine invited us to join her on this journey with these little black books. And one of the things we want to really say here is the power of the sisterhood
Mm.
cannot be overstated. We have helped each other through many a thing. We're going to help each other through this phase. We
Yes.
will go forward. Our great grandparents made it through. They
Yes.
weren't even supposed to live. They made it through. They gave birth to us. They gave us joy. They gave us faith. They gave us strength. And they gave us the opportunity to get to where we are now. So Black women can and will support each other. I would say for every bad experience I've had with one sister, 10 sisters have stood up for me.
Mm.
So I just feel like it's important to be positive about ourselves, particularly within the media where we're under assault, we're under attack right
Mhm.
now. Don't let that, let that roll off your back. We are strong. You are strong. You can make it. And if you need help, go get it. There's no shame in it. But stand up. Like my mama said, lift your head up. You belong in any room you are in.
I know
Mhm.
that's right. And what do they say?
Amen.
They won't give you a chair, or they won't give you a seat at the table.
Bring
Build your own.
your chair. Bring
That's it. And
Yeah,
chair.
now it's
bring
build your own
bring a
table.
chair. Go build your own, whichever
Build
works
your
for
own
you.
table. I want the table now. I'm done with the chair. I done had the chair. So
Right.
I'm like, let's build that table
Let's
and
build
invite
that.
everyone to it.
I love
That's
that.
nice, Miss
That
Rhonda.
is so important. One other thing that you do talk about in the book, and I'll let this be the last one because I said I can go. I can go another 30 minutes. If the conversation is flowing, we can definitely do that. Oh, let me see. Does the book offer suggestions on how to tap into your market?
We do talk a little bit about that. I think one of the things is how do you find out what your market is? And it
Mm,
depends on what you are offering. Because some of us, and I have my own niece, I have nieces who are into their doulas. They help in the organic, natural way of helping mothers get ready to give birth. So then she offers oils and scents and herbs that will calm your nerves, that will help the baby. So she actually does sell products in addition to offer services. So some of us are just service based, like I'm an executive coach. So I offer services. We also have books, but I don't require you to have bought the book, nor do I use the book itself in the services. I
mm,
try to customize it. But I think number one is you have to decide what are you offering and why
right.
are you offering it? Because there are a lot of coaches out here. So there's room for all of us, but we don't all coach the same way. So maybe what you're offering, if you're a hairdresser or esthetician or a skin specialist or whatever it is that you do, wonderful. And we're seeing a lot of sisters go into STEM work and into AI and technology.
Mm,
Beautiful. There can't be enough of us because that's where the economy is going and that's where the marketplace is going. So we need to go there too. But
mhm,
I think know who you are first, maybe get some assessments. One thing Marsha always did, she did a self audit every year. So she would actually write to us and talk about what are my strengths, where could I improve? And this is after 40 years of working. She
mm,
still did this. And we would still write to her, this is what we thought you did well this year. And then here are some areas like number one, you didn't take good care of yourself. You told us to take good care of ourselves. You didn't take your vacation or
mm,
whatever it was. So I think that before you talk about tapping your market, you need to define what is your market, who is
mm,
your audience, and then who is your competition. Because there's
mm,
no need in spending $10,000 if there's somebody next door to you doing the same thing.
Mhm.
Do you
right.
want to work with them? Do you want to have a partnership? You know what I'm saying? Do you want to be online only as opposed to online and in? So I think you need to do your research the way Elaine did the research before we wrote this book, so that we knew there was nothing out there like it.
Mhm.
Know what you have to offer and know whether it's unique or not.
Mhm.
I love that. And actually, that kind of leads into the last question I was going to ask you. And it's about building a personal brand, because knowing what your personal brand is a part of what you do in the marketplace and how you show up in the marketplace. But you do talk about that because a lot of times people might think, oh, well, I don't have a business, so I don't need a brand, but
Mhm.
branding is not just about business, or not even just about like maybe being able to get a certain job. It's much deeper than that. And I like that you talk about personal branding to create and get what you want.
Yes. Yes.
Well, let
Yes.
me let me just be the first to confess. I've had issues with building my personal brand because of being a fiction writer and a nonfiction writer. It's like, I had to ask myself, am I a leadership expert or am I someone who speaks about leadership and wants to share about leadership? I'm actually in the process of writing my third novel. I'm a writer, so I've had trouble sort of like, I feel like I'm two different people and not one brand, but it's something that my one brand is that I'm a writer. That's essentially what my brand is. So how do I want to present myself and my brand? That's something that I'm actually still, working on and looking at, just putting myself out there on social media, because once you establish yourself out there in the public is one thing, sometimes, the public won't be as forgiving. They'll, I could confuse a lot of people. Well, what is she? What is she now? So I call myself like a multi-hyphenate. I branded
Yes.
that
Yes,
word,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and that's kind of what I'm hanging on to because that's who I am. I mean, there are people who direct, who produce, who write, who act, and so that I put myself in that category, and that's what I'm in the process. That's how I'm in the process of building my brand.
And I think that that is exactly right. And what Marsha and I were always saying to Elaine is, you can be both. You don't have to be one thing or the other. And
mm,
most women of color are more than one thing just by necessity. We have to
right.
do more than one thing, and we do more than one thing well. And I disagree with people who say that multitaskers are inefficient. Some of the best, most efficient women I know are multitaskers. And just like you, we compartmentalize. We do this then, we do
Mm,
this now, we do this for later. And what I do is I keep about 10 or 20 different things in draft all the time on my devices. So I have a draft letter, I have a draft outline, I have a draft speech, I have a draft chapter, I have a draft these are the 5 people I want to contact in the next week. And I just find that that helps me. And if I don't have the right energy and focus to work on number 3, I can work on number 12 and then
Mhm.
make some progress. But I don't know. I don't know anybody who does just, well, not that I can think of, who does just one thing. So I'm
Right.
thinking being a multi hyphenate, there's nothing wrong with that. And your brand doesn't have to be a brand of a person who does one thing. The
Right.
brand is, what do people say about you when you're not in the room?
Oh,
What do people say that you know how to do? And
yes.
that's what your brand is.
Yes.
So you get to decide, what do I want you to know about me? I'm an author, a musician, an attorney, an executive coach, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But
Right.
my brand is that I can do many things and I can do them well. And
Mhm.
Elaine's brand is that she's a writer, but she's more than one kind of writer. And that's a beautiful thing. A lot of people can't write at all, or they don't think they can. So here's someone who can write from more than one genre. That's awesome.
That's a
That is
blessing.
awesome. Yeah.
That's a blessing. And it's funny that we've been talking about that writing piece because, I've been doing this stuff for a while, and oftentimes people will ask me, well, Marcy, where's your book? When are you going to write a book? Right.
Yes.
And just last week, and this is my first time really saying this publicly, so y'all are getting a scoop. I have like some fiction ideas, right? But I realized the other day that even through like doing this work and Brown Girl Collective itself will be 17 in July. But I've only been doing the book stuff for like 6 years, right? But
Okay.
in the earlier stages of Brown Girl Collective, I was sharing a whole lot of historical facts, helping people to learn about Black women, people, the unsung heroes and sheroes, I'm going to say sheroes,
Yes.
that we didn't know about and that sort of thing. And I really fell in love with history. And even now when I'm reading fiction, I really love historical fiction, right? And it was like, at the core of who I am, I really like truth and facts, and more so than I want to make up stories.
Okay.
So the other day it came to me, it's like, well, there is a such thing as creative nonfiction. There are ways to tell stories, tell real stories, talk about real people, real things in a way that reads more like a story.
Yes.
More poetic. And so the other day it was like, oh, that's what you should do. Don't worry. I mean, yeah, I got some fiction ideas, but let me lean in where I automatically, feel that pull. Let me do that.
Yes.
I mean, there are
Yes.
so many untold stories, right?
Oh yes. Oh
We are
yes.
real stuff. And
Yes.
sometimes real stuff is more unbelievable than the stuff that's fiction.
It's the
You're like,
truth.
what?
It's the truth. It is the truth.
So that was, the to the point of figuring out who am I, or how do I show up in that way. That just came to me the other day, and I mean, we're not gonna talk about all of it, but everybody, I got some stuff coming that's going to allow me to do just that and to be able to tell more stories. Because let's face it, and we've touched on it throughout this conversation, there's so much happening in the world that's trying to erase us and
Yes.
diminish us. And I want to make sure that I can do all that I can with the next however many years that I'm blessed with to be able to make sure that we're not erased.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And truth cannot be erased. I mean, things that, they tried to bury 400 years ago, 300 years ago, 200 years ago, it's still with us. And I went to an all Black school from K through 8 until I integrated the high school in my little town with a sheriff with a gun in 1965 when I was 13. But my point is that every Friday in the all Black school, we had an assembly where we learned about Langston Hughes, and we learned about Toni Morrison, and we learned about all of these people. And so they are inside me. And we want to make sure, just like you are doing this podcast and you're making sure that word gets out about resources for Black women. And thank you for that. It's so important that our stories get told. So I hope you will do your writing. I think it's very important.
I'm excited about it. Yeah, and some other stuff too, because I got a lot of facts. I got a lot of facts, and it's like I need to do something with all that stuff. So there are some things that kind of like Marsha.
Yes.
That I have a plan that extends out beyond time. So
good.
quick for
Carry
those
it
who
out.
might not have seen it earlier. There's Marsha. Yeah, so
Yeah.
kind of like her, I do have a longer plan. So I love that.
Wonderful.
I
Thank
love
you.
that.
Thank you.
So, ladies, this has been such an honor to have you here because, again, this is like the original book.
I,
So
yeah.
I have been familiar and, in love with what you do for many, many moons. So it is such an honor, a blessing, a pleasure to have you with us. And, with Marsha not being here to be able to pay homage to
Mhm.
her and all of that,
Thank
this has
you.
been such a blessing for us to, have you here. So I
Thank
know that, the book hasn't been out that long, and I'm not sure, do you have like any events or any place that you're going to be or things like that you want people to know about? Of course, your information has been scrolling at the bottom so they know how to get in touch with you. But is there anything in particular that's coming up soon that you want people to know about?
If you're in New York, then just if you follow me, any of my Instagram or TikTok titles, you'll see where I'm speaking. Elaine is speaking as well in New Jersey. We're both going to be speaking in New York April 9, and there'll be more information out about that soon. And we're working on with some other states to begin to go back out on the road, but we kind of wanted to honor Miss Marsha first. And
Right.
so thank you for the podcast. We've been taping the podcast. So we've just been doing a virtual rollout of the book, and then we will be doing more in-person appearances and book signings later in the year.
Yes.
Perfect,
Mhm.
perfect. So I love that. So, ladies, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Again, it's been
you.
a blessing. It's been an
Thank
honor.
you.
You're in the family now.
Thank
So
you for having us. I know.
anything you
So,
got going on, come back. Because Elaine, you can come back and talk about some of that fiction stuff
I
too.
know. I'd love to. I'd love to. And I'd love to connect with
Yes,
you on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. I'm sure I'll find you in
yes.
both places. Yeah.
Yes,
That's
yes.
awesome.
Please let's make sure we keep that connection going because I think it's so important. And I always tell people if you've been here once, you've been here once, you're in the family. You can come back anytime,
Thank
anytime.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. You've
It's been
been
And
wonderful.
wonderful.
thanks. I'd
Wonderful.
be remiss. I do need to put up the Brown Girl Collective bookstore because if you go, it's affiliated with Bookshop. So if you shop on Bookshop, if you and you just type in Brown Girl Collective bookstore, it will take you to the Brown Girl Collective bookstore page, and you will find this book. Um, this one because the older one is only on ebook right now, but you will find the next little black book of success on that page where you can go ahead and purchase that book. So just wanted to make sure people knew that. So ladies, if you all could hold on for me for one moment, don't hang up. Don't
Okay.
And
hang
we
up.
won't.
But
Thank
I,
you.
I want to, but I want to let people know what's happening next week. So I'll
Okay.
see you in just a moment. All righty. So thank you everyone for being here for this wonderful conversation that we just had with Elaine. And I'm sorry, my brain, I'm tired, y'all. With Elaine and Rhonda Joy. So thank you so much. And in honor of Marsha, because that's what I was trying to say Marsha's name. But yes, thank you all for being here. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. Again, I encourage you to pick up a copy of the book and actually both of them, because they're both still available. As they said, people are still buying both because there are 40 lessons in each book. They are not the same lessons. So I encourage you to pick up both copies. You'll pick them up for yourself to encourage yourself along your way, as well as the next generation who is really looking for tips and tools to put in their tool chest. And maybe you don't even have. So I definitely suggest that you pick up both copies. So just by means of announcement, a week from today, and actually this is a topic that came up while we were in conversation a few moments ago and talked about like meditation and self-care and things that you can do to really to support yourself on your journey. And so next week we will be talking with Onika Mays, the author of Sit With Me, which is a no BS journey to mindfulness and meditation. So when those people are stressing you out on the job or the family or wherever you are out here leading and being a boss, sometimes you need to just chill out. And Onika is going to help us, navigate how to practice mindfulness and meditation. So look for that a week from today. And that's all I have for tonight. So thank you again for being here, whether you're watching live or catching in the replay. Do appreciate you, love you, and do all that you can to continue to live well. See you soon. Bye-bye.